So, hi everyone, welcome. My name's Tony Parker, and I'm a business development manager here at DZS. And as Ken said, I'm here to talk a little bit about network slicing and service orchestration. So, firstly, just a few terms and terminology. So service orchestration is pretty much the process of designing, creating and delivering those services. It's also allows the monitoring of the assurance of it, and also would connect to business, the BSS, in order to do the charging as well. So it does the complete life cycle of that service. A network slice is a logical part of that network, which provides specific network capabilities such as SLAs or specific demands such as uplink or downlink, and also represents those network characteristics. And then intent-based networking, which I want to touch upon in the final few slides, is a little bit about the network administration. For me, the intent-based networking is kind of the glue. It allows customers who pretty much know what they want, but don't know the full detail of what they need. It kind of translates that into a networking language, which it's able to automate onto that network. Now, standards, network slicing was pretty much defined by the 3GPP or mentioned, and then there's a numerous amount of different standard bodies that have kind of taken that and adapting it for their own requirements. So we have TM Forum with the Open API initiative. There's ONAP, who came up with the design time, the runtime, the management life cycle of a service. There's Etsy and Mano, which is the architecture for the virtual side. So with the NFVOs, for example, and the VNFMs. There's GSMA. There's also the which came up with the Nest template. There's also the ORAN Alliance, which focuses on the RAN access portion of the network. We also have IETF and MEF as well for Sonata and Legato touch points. And the final one there is a small cell forum. So these all use or are related or kind of involved in the network slicing community. Now, broadband forum and network slicing. So the broadband forum, I'll be honest, I'm relatively a newbie at, and I was asked to do this presentation about a month ago. And it's been for me it's been a crash course learning exercise and very illuminative exercise as well. So my previous experience with network slicing is I've been involved heavily in a couple of catalysts within TM Forum, proving out network slicing between different operators and doing closed loop assurance. I've also been heavily involved in MEF. And a watching brief on ONAP and 3GPP as well, amongst the others. But the broadband forum and network slicing, I was relatively new to. So in the last few weeks, I've been rapidly learning and researching and looking at the fixed mobile convergence and how network slicing is applied there. So the fixed mobile convergence is an initiative with the 3GPP and the broadband forum. And in there is a work area, which is the wireless wireline convergence BBF work area. And the latest release, I think, is phase 18.1, which shows enhancements made to key 5G convergence standards. And then there's a number of different 5G project streams or study areas. So there's a couple of internal documents, SD 406 and 407. So if you do have the logins, they provide quite a nice little overview to network slicing. It is dated at 2018, but it's a good stake in the ground. And then there's a 5G fixed mobile convergence study as well, looking at how network slicing can apply to that convergence of the fixed networks and the mobile networks. And then there are some released documentation that's worth a read. So there's TR470 with the 5G wireless wireline convergence architecture, which needs to take in and account for the network slicing. And then we have the access gateway function requirements in TR456, which again needs to address or take into account for network slicing. So with that, we have the slice reference model. So many people are probably familiar with this. So at the top, running down, there is the portal or the OSS, BSS. It could be a customer portal that a service provider puts on their network. And an order may come in, a service order may come in. That order hits the communication service management function and pretty much translates that order requirements and puts it and pushes it down into network slice requirements. So if you're familiar with TMF, takes in the CFS and translate that into a resource-facing service. Based on this, a nest template is selected. So it's a network slicing template is selected, and also the selection of a network slice management function. So that is pushed down to the next layer below. Now, the NSMF, it does or is concerned with the lifecycle management of that end-to-end slice, and it breaks up that end-to-end slice into different slice subnets. So down here, you can see the different domains. So there is the access network slice subnet management function with the R in bracket for RAN. And then we have the transport. So this is kind of the backhaul and being a network engineer, I would probably call it the core network of transmission and transport, so all the IP and the DWDM networks. And then over here on the right-hand side, we've got the 5G core NSSMF, which the fixed mobile convergence is trying to reuse some of that technology to reduce costs. So here we see the challenge within, and now I'm going to be talking a little bit about intent business, intent networks. So the challenge we have is that the customer, for example, here, BMW wants a service. So the service could be infotainment. They want to have that location in Boston, and they need to pick a service level. So this instance, gold. And then they determine the speed. So again, in this instance, we've got 500 megabits per second. Now, the challenge is to get the customer's order, which could be this high, to actually initiating that, instantiating that onto the network, taking in a number of different domains. And to do it automatically and quickly as well. So in this day and age, everyone wants everything very, very quickly. So this needs to be pretty much instant. But as the networks are all taken up by different domains and different vendors, it's always been a bit of a challenge. So what intent does, it determines what is needed. So that 5G slice management, in order to complete or satisfy that customer order, there's a number of steps that need to be done and a number of different standards. So in this case, we're going for the NFVO, but it could be a different domain like the access or transport, for instance. That order would come in via TM Forum APIs. The resources would be checked. The inventory would be allocated, and the CSF MF would take in those customer attributes, such as the service type, connected car, telemedicine, determine the service level, whether it's gold, platinum, bronze, and also the speed that's guaranteed. And it would then push it down to the NSMF and the NSSMF in turn. And that's done by the 3GP APIs, which then takes that information and aligns it with the coverage area, the different up and down throughputs, also the latency, and any other SLA related attributes. Then down to the domain. So for NFEO, for example, this is when the resource level attributes are assigned. So we've got the network service descriptors within the NFEO, and it's then pushed down to the virtual core, and those resources are taken and the services are instantiated based on the customer's requirement. So this is quite a bit of a process, and what makes it quicker and easier to do is the intent-driven engine. So the slice is ordered, BMW, Boston, infotainment, gold, with the speed. The order is then broken down into individual subcomponents. So we have the enhanced mobile broadband. We've got different TAC IDs. We've also got the RAN vendor, in this case Samsung, maybe the transport NS, which could be DZS's Extreme, the SDN network controller, and then also the 5G core, which could be, for example, a 5G Mavenir redundant core. Now, the intent rules takes this customer information, takes the breakdown, and then determines the selection and placement and also the configuration within the different domains, within the Samsung RAN, within the DZS Extreme SDN, and also within the 5G core, redundant core. So it will do that through IP addresses, the locations, resource models, such as the layer 3 VPN, 500 megabit, the endpoints as well, which is very important. It's been quite challenging, especially in ONAP. And also we've got the Mavenir 5G core, so it will assign the resources for the VIM, any VNFs as well would be done. And it all requires a plugin framework as well that provides adaptation to third parties. So this is how the instantiation is done via intent-driven fulfillment. And then I just want to finish off with a final slide, just showing DZS's involvement in that slice manager. So we do have a slice engine, which covers all the different layers within that slicing architecture. It has a CSMF, an NSMF, and also its own NSSMF with its intent fulfillment engine as well. And then we also have the NFEO for the 5G core or converged core.